How much money do you need to have saved up in order to retire? I was having this discussion with a friend of mine who makes a pretty good amount of money, and he was planning his retirement 20, 30 years down the line. And I asked him how much he planned to have, how much he thought he needed. And he said, I need $20 million. That blew me away. $20 million. Who saves up $20 million, even if you do have a really good income? And I asked him where he got that number. And he just pulled it out of the air. He said, I don't know. It just sounds like a good number, but it's a little discouraging because that's a lot of money that I'm going to have to save. I don't know if I can do it. And we had this discussion about whether that was a right number or not. And I said, well, let's do the math. We're going to walk through it. And it turned out once we figured out what the true number is, that it was a lot less than what he thought he needed. And we're going to go through those numbers here. So in the US and in a lot of countries around the world, 65 or 67 is the standard age of retirement. But that doesn't really hold true anymore. In 1888, Otto von Bismarck came up with the first retirement system, the government-sponsored retirement system, which was an inspiration for the U.S. Retirement system, which came about in the early 1900s, where they set age 65 as the age when you retire, because the life expectancy at the time was only 68 years. Now it's about 78. It's gone down in the last couple of years because of COVID, but it's about 78 more or less. So people are living a lot longer, so they might need more money. And also some people are retiring earlier. So this number that we're going to talk about is really independent of whether you retire at 65 or 35. So what you do is you calculate your budget, how much money you plan to live on or would like to live on in retirement, independent of what that age is, and multiply it by 25. And this comes from a famous study done by some mathematicians at a university, published in the Journal of Financial Planning in 1998. And it's come to be known as the Trinity Study, where these mathematicians took average rolling returns from the early 1900s, 1929, I believe, right during the Great Depression, through recessions, ups and downs, bear markets and bull markets, and they calculated what percent could you take out every year and never run out of money for 30 years. The number they came up with was 4%. So if you want to live off your investment portfolio of $1 million, for example, you can take out 4% or $40,000, and you will not run out of money, at least for 30 years. That's the time period that they calculated. And then if you reverse engineer that, then 40,000 times 25 is $1 million. So if you want to live off 40,000, you need $1 million. 40 times 25 is $1 million. If you want to live off of 80,000, then you double it. 2 million is what you need in your portfolio. If you want $100,000, you need 2.5 million. Now this can be, we're just talking stock bond portfolio. You can adjust that if you have an income stream from rental properties, or you're counting on Social Security, or you want to do a part-time job. If you don't need $40,000 or $80,000 from your portfolio, you only need half that because you plan to work for a long time. You just like doing it. Like my dad, who is 85 and he's still working because he likes it. Then you can count on less. So whatever that budget is times 25 is the rule of thumb. And it also makes it more manageable because you can think, well, I don't have to save up $20 million or even $10 million, like Susie Orman says, that nobody should retire unless they have $10 million, which means nobody would retire because that's a huge milestone. For most people, the number is between $1 and $3 million, which is totally doable, especially if you're starting early. The earlier you start, the better. And then you can bring that number down even more if you have other revenue streams like rental properties or other investments that are bringing you money, or you want to have a part-time job in retirement, whether it's at 65 or if you want to retire earlier. So that's the simple number, the rule of 4%, or 25 times your expected income. So the best way to get started reaching that number is to start putting away, investing 10% of your income every single paycheck. And then as you get raises throughout your career, keep your spending the same and increase that percentage that you're investing from 10% to 15%. If you can cut your budget, then keep raising it as much as you can raise it. Then the faster you're going to be putting money away that will accumulate over time to get to whatever that number is. But I just wanted to share the Trinity study, and I'll put a link here to my website that has some information about it, and the 4% rule. So does that jive with you? Do you think that sounds like that? When you do the math, that sounds like it fits what you're expecting, or is it more or less? I'd love to hear your thoughts.